My name is Tim Goss, and I'm here to present to you on the role of geospatial analysis in the planning of large infrastructure projects. So just a little bit quickly about me. I'm a senior consultant within the Design for Movement team in Steer. I've been working in the geospatial industry under various guises for roughly the last 12 years, having worked for the Ministry of Defence, Schlumberger Oilfield Services, and now Steer, where I've been for the last 5 years, literally as of yesterday. I'm going to give you a very quick whistle-stop tour of geospatial at Steer, and then I'll move on to the main subject of this presentation, which is the role of geospatial analysis in the planning of large infrastructure projects. So a little bit about Steer. Steer is an independent management consultancy which spans 21 offices across 4 continents, primarily specializing in transport, cities, and infrastructure. And at Steer, we aim to answer the complex questions with powerful answers. Our geospatial team sits within Design for Movement and consists of geospatial analysts, cartographers, and digital product specialists, which is a unique mix of individuals and personalities. We deploy our skills on projects across the company and are available to support projects in any of our offices, be it in Los Angeles or Mumbai. Day-to-day requests can vary and can include data collection, analysis, cartographic map production, online mapping, development of bespoke applications, and the infamous "can you just" requests. As many in the geospatial industry find, no day for us is ever the same. So Steer's geospatial offer consists of 5 core pillars, really. The first one is geospatial storytelling, which is how we can use maps and data visualizations to aid the narrative of a project or any kind of policy decision. Geospatial data analytics, which is using geospatial tools and processes to combine, enrich, and generate unique insights in the data that we have access to, whether that's public or private, available to us. Connectivity and travel patterns. Much of the work we do is focused around transport, and we want to help people understand the flows of people, goods, and services from A to B. Innovate data and tools. We want to ensure that we're able to work with the ever-growing volumes of complex data, and that's key to growing our service offer. And award-winning cartography. Finally, a pretty hefty plug for Claire. Working closely with our design team and cartographers, we can provide world-class mapping for sports and major events, wayfinding systems, and public-facing policy documents, just to name a few. So major infrastructure projects are built upon geospatial data, and I can't honestly think of any conference that I've been to in recent times that I've attended that does not have a speaker presenting on something like HS2 or even Crossrail. These types of projects are large, the clue is in the name, and they contain multiple overlapping work streams, often involving huge numbers of people and organizations. Now, to cover this project, I'm basically going to talk through an example of a large project that Steer has been involved with in the USA, and that is Link 21. So, for those of you who do not know what this project is, Link 21, which was previously known as Transbay, is a project that Steer has been working on for the past 3 years. It's a passenger rail improvement project focused around San Francisco and the Northern California mega region. The Link 21 name comes from the 21 counties that comprise the mega region. And at its core is a new rail crossing between the cities of Oakland and San Francisco. The main goal and focus of the program is to connect BART, which is the Bay Area Rapid Transit, which is a light rail system with 6 lines and approximately 50 stops, and to the Northern California regional rail system. And it aims to provide a rail passenger system that is, first off, reliable. You can get to where you want to go without delay. It's frequent, you have to wait less, and you have more options, so you can kind of turn up and go. It's well connected. It's quick and easy to access jobs, leisure, education, and homes. It's good for the environment. So the US is obviously quite a car-driven society, and they want to improve air quality by providing the alternatives to a good alternative to the car. It wants to be good for the economy, with initial estimates project that approximately 377,000 jobs will be generated by the program. And finally, it's equitable. So they want more rail options with better access to jobs and housing for everybody, irregardless of your background. To put it on the scale of a project in the UK, the Link 21 program is estimated to cost just over half that of HS2 phase 1, and is expected to impact approximately 12.7 million people. So probably similar in size, just slightly larger than the population of London. Now, Steer are one of a number of consultancy firms working together to help deliver the project. This includes HNTB, which is a consultancy firm mainly based in the US, HDR Engineering, Cambridge Systematics, Arup, and WSP, just to name a few. Together with our partners, we've used geospatial data analysis, geodata visualizations, and a number of core work streams throughout the project so far. This includes the initial planning phase, market analysis, equity, travel demand and land use model, and the public engagement. And as with many projects, no matter their size, one of the first tasks in the initial planning phase is usually to understand the area of interest. And this was no different for Link 21 for us. An evidence base was constructed, which helped us contextualize the region. And this included, amongst other things, analysis and mapping to help understand the population, employment, existing transport infrastructure, and accessibility and travel time catchments. After constructing an incredibly large and complex private and public transport network for inside track travel times analysis software, Steer were able to use GTFS data from 511.org, which is a data and information portal for transit information in the area, to map and visualize travel times for all stations in the Bay Area. This initial analysis helped us and our partners answer the questions find answers to the following high-level questions. First off, how will travel times be improved in the future with already committed schemes? And how will travel times be improved with new San Francisco Bay crossing? Now, on the right-hand side, we've got an existing travel time catchment for the station of Fairfield. And if I just quickly click, we can see this is what's going to happen in the future, either with a new bay crossing and the existing committed improvements already in place. So quite an improvement for the Fairfield station. The second phase that we were involved in was market analysis. And this work stream was a powerful tool and process to help the program team determine the locations where passenger rail improvements and infrastructure may have the greatest impact and benefit. By combining socio-economic data, population and employment projections, Experian Mosaic market segmentation dataset, travel times, and origin destination data, Steer were able to identify locations with the greatest potential to attract new travelers who would utilize these new rail services if they had access to fast, frequent, direct, and uncrowded services, which is not currently the situation that is happening over there. To help visualize this data, the Bay Area was broken down into hundreds of hexels to contextualize the large quantities of data involved in the analysis. Alongside maps that were produced for this workstream, a digital application was constructed within the ArcGIS online service to help both consultants and members of the public visualize the unmet demand for new Trans-Bay rail services. As the personal side note, it's gratifying to know that after spending countless hours working on this project and producing over 100 maps, a grand total of 3 were chosen for inclusion in the final market analysis report. I mean, 6 if you count the appendices, but well, who reads those? Another one of Link 21's stated aims is actually to improve equity in the area, and that involves providing more rail options with a better access to jobs and housing for all, irrespective of their background or identity. Now, historically, for large infrastructure projects, the trend has generally been that minorities are negatively affected alongside low-income and systematically disadvantaged communities. To help resolve this issue, Steer identified and mapped priority populations. Priority populations were populations identified in geographic areas most impacted by negative economic, mobility, community, health and safety outcomes. Now, by identifying these population centres, STEER and our partners were able to better connect with the groups in these areas, with community groups in these areas, to better understand their needs and help target interventions in those areas, which will help develop more equitable transit scenarios. The next phase was the travel demand land use modelling. Now, this is one of the most recent steps that we've undertaken. It's the travel demand and land use model, or TDLU for short, is a modelling package which is developed upon the urban development model suite that STEER has utilised in the UK. It was enhanced specifically for the Link 21 project and combines geospatial analysis such as travel time catchments, socio-demographics, and, unsurprisingly, land use, with the market analysis and equity work streams to test potential route combinations. The outputs of this modelling have been delivered via a series of dashboards, again in ArcGIS Online, which have resulted in the identification of 15 potential routes for more detailed and in-depth assessment. For a project of this scale and size, it's of vital and huge importance to engage with the public. They are, after all, the end users of the infrastructure, and a success for them is a success for everybody involved in the project. As discussed previously, the identification of priority populations has allowed STEER and our partners to connect with local disadvantaged groups. To gain the necessary and enough feedback, it was important to make sure the information explaining the project and its results so far was accessible to everybody. So when developing the public engagement tools, 3 key questions were asked. How can the project planning and analysis best be presented to the public? How can the existing travel challenges and opportunities and contexts be understood by those who are outside of the project team? How best to share the complex data in an easy to understand manner for non-technical users? To this end, our team developed an engaging Link 21 quiz based upon geography and geospatial outputs. And you can see that up on the right there now with one of Ollie's fantastic maps. This introduced concepts of the work to the user in an engaging and fun manner. A simple dashboard showing unmet demand was also made available to the public. It used a minimal interface along with easy to understand a color scheme to show the results of the analysis. Now, as with any project, no matter its size, there's always a few problems and issues. I'm just going to very quickly go over a couple of challenges that we've faced so far on Link 21. So while our team at STEER is used to working across the globe, the majority of our geospatial professionals are located within the UK. There are still some notable challenges when working on projects in another country. The main challenge that we face on most projects for us is where to source data from. In the UK, we are generally very blessed with both open and easily accessible data. It's not always the case for projects abroad. In some instances, STEER has a local office who can offer guidance. However, this is not always the case, and a fair amount of time would be dedicated to locating information. For Link 21, we had the advantage of both a local office and the knowledge of partner consultancy GIS experts who could offer us advice. Another issue when working in another country can be getting to grips with the terminology used in conversations with our clients and partners. For example, output areas and census tracts, and postcodes versus zip codes. In both instances, each represents the UK-US equivalent with very, very minor differences. However, the first time the term is heard, it can be a little bit confusing to those who do not know. In most cases, this is quite easy to work around, and generally after a small adjustment period, everything becomes clear and second nature after you've been working with and manipulating the data for amount of time. Whilst a major plus, one of the other challenges that we faced is just the sheer number of agencies and work streams, data inputs and outputs all involved in the project. Because of this, it's been very, very important to have a single source of truth, a phrase that I'm really not a fan of, but it really does describe the issue and the solution quite well. Luckily for us, Esri and their ArcGIS Online suite provides us with an ideal platform for sharing and collaborating with our partners. Together with HNTB, we maintain a microsite for all the work streams in the project, which allows us to curate and manage data in an efficient and accurate manner. Anybody who needs access to any spatial data can access it through this portal and can rest assured that they have the most recent version and information at their fingertips due to the ability to prioritize certain data sets within ArcGIS Online. One of the seemingly insignificant challenges at first glance is the difference in time zones. It was actually one of the most difficult to work with. For example, the start of the day in California is actually the end of the day for us in the UK, which means that occasionally you may need to stay a little bit late in the office to attend meetings on a Friday evening. However, now with working at home, this has become a lot easier because now we can you can stay at home on a Friday, pop into a meeting, and then you're already at home and there's no issues whatsoever. Delays in communication. Now, sometimes if we need issues with clarification, it can sometimes take 24 hours or more to resolve, even if it's a really tiny query. Any issue with data or queries with the data that's discovered in the UK in the morning, we will not get a response until it's the night time in the UK. The next morning, we'll then be able to resolve the issue, which will then need to be validated again overnight the following evening. So that can take quite a while to actually resolve even the smallest of issues. There are also definitely some shadow benefits from this though. With team members working in all time zones, and a single source of truth provided by ArcGIS Online, it's been possible for work for us to be undertaken almost 24 hours a day, although this is needed to be very carefully monitored and managed. It also means that work can be undertaken in the UK over the whole day and then reviewed in detail overnight in the US, ready for the next stage of work the next day. This again requires just a little bit of planning, just a small bit of time in your day, and you can actually you can get a really good system going. As I mentioned, we were looking to engage local communities and people around the area. And as consultants and professionals in the geospatial industry, we're surrounded by people with similar experience and knowledge. And it's sometimes really easy to forget that not everybody is familiar with the acronyms and terminology that might be second nature to us. Even simple terminology such as GIS can impact upon individuals' understanding and the ability to interpret findings of our analysis. As they were being made available to the public for consultation and reference, both our technical reports and mapping outputs need to be carefully crafted to ensure that we make them as accessible and as clear as possible. Specifically for the maps we have developed a clear and simple base map for use for all mapping, which shows key settlements, landmass, and existing transportation lines, something that lots of people in the area are very familiar with. Standardized layout templates have also been used and shared between all partners involved in the project, alongside a color palette and a style guide. And this has helped any user understand that they are looking at a map from the Link 21 project, and when moving between maps or reports, they will understand where they can find the information they need. Finally, use of consistent terminology throughout the reports and maps. Each report has a comprehensive list of acronyms at the start to help introduce concepts to the reader. However, it must be noted that we have had to make sure that we don't simplify the report too much. We don't want to convince the reader that we're not actually experts. I'd like to think we are. And our final challenge, which I'm sure everybody is familiar with, is panic maps, or like any geospatial professional knows and loves them. You might have a different name for them, but we've all definitely experienced them at some point in our careers. The last-minute mapping requests that float our way. Link 21 is no different for us. And with the difference between the UK and the US in time, these requests can sometimes be very tricky to resolve and fulfill. We found a few ways to help mitigate against this. Now, automating and streamlining workflows via the ArcGIS Model Builder or the QGIS Graphical Modeler allows multiple users to repeat the same process tree as many times as are required, with minimal input for the user and knowing that they're going to do it absolutely right every time. Of course, documenting the process and our data is always very important, just in case somebody needs to go search for something at the last minute. And utilization of project templates and layouts, which allow us to quickly export any analysis which is ready for the output. So it just really speeds up the process for us. Finally, for project takeaways and in summary, the Link 21 project has been an incredibly challenging, but also a hugely rewarding project to be part of. Working on this project has also allowed us to develop on both the client side and with other consultancies and consultants. This has allowed us to share our experience and has introduced our team to new and different ways of working. Finally, maps are better than tables. Everybody loves a map. Showing data as a table or chart can only get you so far, and we've definitely had instances where we've been given a table, turned it into a map, and all of a sudden it's offered up new and exciting avenues to explore within the project. Visualizing data in a map has really helped us tell a story and has helped individuals connect to the data on a personal level. With how familiar people are with using applications like Google Maps and Apple Maps now, it's much, much easier to identify where you live as an individual or even where you work. And you can see all the potential benefits that might be coming your way. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for your time. And does anybody have any questions at all? Yeah, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, I think. But
thanks, Tim. That was excellent.
Thank you.
We're just looking for some questions.
It's absolutely fine if there are none.
Yeah, well, I've always found, personally, I find it interesting that so many large cities are reliant on STEER for their transport geospatial solutions. Particularly, I'm thinking of Toronto, where there's, the Toronto Transport Commission has a GIS department. The City of Toronto has a GIS department. Is it just that they lack the specialization, or is it a huge amount of data to go through, or the visualizations that's the tricky part? What is it that most cities would look to STEER to specialize in?
Well, I think really lots of local kind of government transport bodies, the GIS departments maybe struggle a little bit with manpower, and we can offer time and the expertise, having worked in other cities. They might often be starting from scratch when developing like wayfinding systems or helping with them with any issues that they have, and we've got that experience that we are able to bring to them over in all these different cities. Like we work in London lots, we work in Manchester, we work all around the world. We've been everywhere, we've done everything, and there's pretty much always a solution that we can help develop for people.
Great. And let's see. So Tim is asking, really cool, thank you. At what point do you know how many maps is enough? And which ones do you use when doing the market analysis?
Well, from my point of view, how many maps are enough is when I'm told that's enough. Because what we do is we are provided with model results, which come in like a huge Excel spreadsheet, and then we're asked to map almost all of the different results that we're given. And then it will be passed back to our team over in the US, who will look at the maps and figure out how is best to proceed from there. It can be quite a challenge when you're constantly repeating the same processes over and over again, and seemingly not much difference. But it's definitely worthwhile, because we've had feedback from our client who they initially just had these huge data tables, and we really simplified them into these quite visual maps, and it really helped them see, oh my God, there's something going wrong over here. We hadn't seen that before because we weren't looking at this enormous table of data that we had, but the maps just allowed us to really see it straight away. And it's fantastic. Yeah, really, really helpful for them.
Excellent. And David says, thanks, really interesting to hear about these lessons learned.
Thank you very much.
And just a quick last one, you were talking about going through lots of data sets to figure out which one is the best. Do you have a system for deciding which data set is most accurate?
In most cases, we'll go for government data sets first, because generally I think you can rely on them the most. It's what we found, but a lot of it is trial and error. checking up with people who actually live in the area to see, so they can validate it. Especially with us being over in the UK, it's difficult for us to go out and just double check that that bus stop is actually there. But we'll usually use a lot of local knowledge and people who live in the area to kind of guide us and validate the data if we need to. Yeah.
Great. Thanks very much, Tim.